Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from the Baxter building to Latveria and everywhere in between. That's right. Normally, I try to mix up the fandoms associated with locations. Not tonight. We got some big Fantastic Four updates to talk about, which I'm sure if you're anywhere within inside the nerd sphere of news, you've already heard about. But we're going to dig into it big time tonight. My name is Mike Gibson. With me is always Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
To me, my podcast host. Because on top of the Final Four, on top of the Fantastic Four.
The final Fantastic Four.
Yes. Hopefully it's better than the whatever's been coming out. But on top of that, we did also get the X-Men 97 trailer, which is the sequel to the old X-Men the Animated Series. Those are two of the bigger things that we have outside of shitting on Sony, because that's what we do.
Yeah, some spider talk.
Yeah,
spider talk.
So yeah, there's for the non-comics news, it's all Marvel all the time here.
That's right. That's right. This podcast is sponsored by Funky Town Comics and Vinyl in Camillus, New York. Check them out for all your comics and vinyl needs. They are sponsoring Collectors Con March 16th and 17th. Great New York State Fair, Horticulture Building. Tickets on sale now. I'll be there. Steve will be there. We'll both be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so will a bunch of other...
I did find out I will be slightly late, so you may have to man both booths for about an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah, the Cub Scout campout is that night, and as a den leader,
yes,
I have to be there.
Oh.
So.
Well, I'm just a more dedicated person, because I'm specifically not going to the Cub Scout campout because of the Collectors Con, Steve. So...
Well, you've got two booths there. I've only got one, so you win.
True.
We'll just make one of our we'll make one of our loyal listeners help us out. Hi, Matt. Hi, Adam.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we should probably ask them. Like you and I have talked about it.
Oh yeah, we should do this. So if anybody's hearing this and wants to help us out at the Collectors Con, feel free to get a hold of us.
Specifically, those two people that we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Or we will actually talk to you.
Yeah.
Ourselves,
when we inevitably forget in like an hour. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When I go to bed and forget that we talked about it.
Mm-hmm. So when you hear this, remind us.
Will happen. Yeah. Text us immediately. All right, I think that's all we got. Really, go listen to our G. Willow Wilson interview. Still plugging that because I'm still so happy and proud that it happened. So I want
our other interview, Jay Stevens. If anyone is not in on Figgy Furthermore, the Kickstarter is launched. So
Kickstarter has launched for his new child-friendly comic, Figgy Furthermore, starring a dead dog.
Mm-hmm.
Child-friendly, nonetheless. Be able to listen to that interview as well. Also a good time. Go check them out now. Steve, last week we talked about how through kind of weird posts on the SAG-AFTRA website, we pretty much learned that Pedro Pascal had been cast as Reed Richards. This week, we learned not only that officially, but the entire cast of the Fantastic Four. Sorry, I shouldn't say the entire cast. I should say the main titular four. Fantastic Four. Now, just to remind you, the first mention of a Fantastic Four movie in the MCU was mentioned by Kevin Feige in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's 2024, and we're finally announced the cast this past Valentine's Day. They posted it on their social medias with like a stylized artist rendering of the four characters hanging out together. But
very 60s
clearly,
vibe.
Very 60s vibe, but clearly the actors were portrayed as these characters. This was not photos, but
Correct.
Clearly it was a drawing of Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. But not only that, not only Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, we got confirmed that Vanessa Kirby will be Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Woman. Joseph Quinn will be Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, and Eben Moss Bacharach as Ben Grimm, the Thing. Now, it is notable to say that all of these castings were announced or reported months ago by Mr. Jeff Snyder on the Hot Mic podcast. I mean, keep listening to our podcast, but if you want like scoops about more than just non-nerdy stuff, you should listen to the Hot Mic podcast. And they're not sponsoring us. I'm just saying, if you're into movie news and Hollywood
They've always
stuff,
got
reports,
something.
you should listen to that. Yeah. So that's the 4: Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Boss Backrack. I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah,
That's pretty solid.
no, it seems
I guess
seems impressive compared to some rumors that have been out there and like where it could have gone and where we've been in the past. Like, no
Yeah.
offense to any of the other cast, but this seems to hit. It seems to hit a lot of the, Pascal is Pascal, but the rest are solid working actors that have been acclaimed for roles they've played, but not like straight up A-listers or anything. Like we know they're good at what they do. So
right.
I'm not going to complain.
They're certainly not as highly in demand as Pedro Pascal has been,
but also
recently.
not unknowns. Although Eben Moss Backrack after The Bear is it's probably getting not Pedro Pascal level, but like he definitely has made a name for himself. Yeah,
I mean, Vanessa Kirby, I know she was on The Crown.
Yep.
I also know her from the most recent couple Mission Impossible movies. And I mean, Joseph Quinn, the only thing I know him from is season 4 of Stranger Things.
Right.
So, it's like 3 TV people.
Yeah.
Mostly. I mean, Vanessa Kirby's done some film, obviously, but
yeah, I mean,
3 people,
Eben Moss
mostly known for
Backrack,
TV.
he was also, because wasn't he in Andor as well?
Yes, he was in Andor.
Yep.
Yes. I'm saying 4 people.
Actually, Pascal is TV as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he's done some film stuff, but I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. He's the Mandalorian. He was on Game of Thrones. He's on The Last of Us. They're mostly TV people.
Yeah.
Being pulled in. That's cool. The movie will be directed by Matt Shackman, as we know. Directed from a screenplay by Josh Friedman, Jeff Kaplan, and Ian Springer. They also announced the release date, July 25th, 2025. Now, this will be a return to form for the MCU. 4 movies will be released in 2025 as of right now.
Sure.
As of right now, before one of them gets delayed.
I mean, the other 3 are inevitably, one of the other 3, just by what they are, is inevitably going to get delayed.
Very likely. Very likely. That would be 2025 starting off for the MCU in February with Captain America 4, followed by Thunderbolts, which just got moved up a few weeks, or a couple months actually. It was coming out in July. Now it's coming out May 2nd, 2025.
So the 4 took their spot. It was originally, Thunderbolts were originally supposed to be July.
Right. So then Fantastic Four, and then Blade is still scheduled for November.
Sure.
Although I don't believe that movie is shooting again yet.
Really want to see that movie. Really don't expect it to be showing up November 25.
Yep, but I really want it to be good.
Yeah.
So, you know what? All these reports, just real quick side note about Blade. All the reports about the delays and the rewrites and stuff have kind of pointed to Mahershala Ali as the one demanding these things, being not happy with the script. Now, it was reported again by Jeff Snyder this week that he is still on board and he is feeling more positive about
the latest
where the script is and the direction of the development of the movie and stuff. So that's all good, but thank God for Mahershala Ali, because I feel like if he wasn't on board, or if he wasn't saying, I don't like this, we shouldn't move forward, we would have gotten a shitty
Webb.
Blade movie this year. You know what I mean? Like, they would have put it out. They would have put it out.
We would have gotten a Madam Web Blade, because all signs for
Are
whatever
you gonna
is,
open that tangent already?
I'm
right
opening
now?
that tangent because every sign I have seen, including the way it seems like Dakota Johnson is talking about this in the press, points to. And neither of us have seen this, but all signs.
You didn't see it? I thought you had opening night tickets. I thought you were going for Valentine's Day.
If I did, it was going to be as a complete mockery. But all signs point to things not being great in the Sonyverse for whatever mess that movie is.
I was assuming we were gonna hang or not bring up Madam Web until we got to our second story, which is spider related. But here we are, just diving straight into a tangent out of very positive Fantastic Four news.
We'll get back. I figure we could use this as a tangent and get back to the positive.
We'll get back for sure. I was thinking about going to see Madam Web. It was like, it wasn't a hard no for me until a day or two before it came out. I started seeing reviews and critics' reactions. I don't think I saw one positive reaction to this movie.
No.
People saying it's the worst superhero movie ever made. People saying it's the worst movie ever made. People just like really, really dogging it.
So again,
and like you said, it doesn't. Dakota Johnson saying, "I haven't seen it yet. Maybe someday."
Yeah.
Like she's not really doing it any favors. And I read that she fired her manager like a week after the trailer for Madam Web came out. Or her agency. She hired a new talent agent the week after the trailer came out for Madam Web.
That's amazing.
Yeah, if you watch any interviews with her, you can tell that she hates that movie, and I don't know, good for her. Good for her.
So I believe we've hit new lows. So I don't take a ton of stock in Rotten Tomatoes, but it's always the easy way to give you a gauge.
It's the easy go-to, yeah.
So Tomato Meter, critic review. Give me a ballpark where you think it is.
Ooh, a critic review? 20%.
That's too high, sir.
Ooh, 10?
13.
13. Yikes.
Now, usually, even when a comic movie is panned, there is still some semblance of like audience score giving it a good it's usually like in the 80s or whatever. Like people still love popcorn.
Yes, I would say it's often that is the case, that the critics hate something, but like Aquaman or whatever, fans were like, or critics were like, this movie's terrible, but people loved it and went to see it and it made $1 billion. like the critic score or audience critic score way lower than the audience score. But you are seemingly setting up a reveal of an audience score that may surprise us. Steve, what's the audience score currently for Madam Web on Rotten Tomatoes?
So here, let's set this up a little here.
Okay. I mean, I thought I just did, but you do you.
Well, no, even more so. So Morbius, your audience score, 71.
71?
Venom.
For Morbius?
Venom, your audience score, 80. Like original Venom.
Okay, I can see that. People like that movie. I can see that.
Let There Be Carnage, 84. Like tomato meters in the 57s.
84? Who liked Morbius enough to give it a 71? That is shocking to me.
Yeah.
That's shocking to me. I thought Morbius was universally hated. I thought.
Spider-Man.
By everybody.
So Spider-Man 3 weirdly flips the script. Critics 63, audience 51.
Wow. How is okay? I think Spider-Man 3 is bad. Spider-Man 3 is a bad movie.
I don't think it's a 51
bad. Morbius is way worse.
100%.
Morbius is way worse than Spider-Man 3.
Yes, and somehow both of us sat through Morbius. I think I sat through most of it at least. Madam Web, audience score 56.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is officially the lowest ranked spider film of all time.
Wow.
On both counts, I believe.
Yikes, dude.
So yeah, not great.
Yikes. I'm hearing that just the script is horrible. That the biggest thing for me is that I'm reading is that every line is like just ham-fisted, terrible exposition, and there's no chemistry at all between anybody, and it's just really, really bad. I'm looking forward to seeing it when it's on streaming. I will watch this movie.
Oh, I will just, if nothing else, for science.
This should be the first movie that you and I do a commentary for. We should only do commentary for like for really stuff. Terrible.
No, if we do that, we have to bring in Brian and Jesse. We'll have to do a four-way group mess. Oh, and of course, as I say that, I realize Brian's in the chat.
Brian's in the chat. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for being here.
Yep. Yeah, it's great. Morbius was a meme that got a ton of good fake reviews, which explains that probably.
Oh, okay. That's true. I forgot about that
whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't want to spend too much time because we will inevitably talk about Madam Web a little bit more when we get to our next story. So let's pivot quick back to Fantastic Four. But I do have more to say about Madam Web.
It's frightening
when we get back to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2025. So, Fantastic Four coming out July 25th, 2025. Notable release date as it is only 2 weeks after Superman Legacy.
Oh, I wonder if that was planned.
I feel like it probably was planned. I feel like it's a little bit of a shot. from
Well,
Marvel at James Gunn.
Now it also
I could
may
be wrong.
be it may
Could be
be
wrong.
a flip the script on that. It may be they wanted that extra 2 months to shore things up because this
Yeah.
flipped. It did flip with Thunderbolts.
True.
So maybe they know they don't have to shine up as much on Thunderbolts. Maybe they know that no matter how much they shine it up, it's going to be whatever it is.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know.
and that they
I mean-
wanted the extra time for that, or who knows?
Yeah. It is. Before I get back to the Superman thing, it's worthwhile noting that of these 4 Marvel movies that are supposed to come out in 2025, 3 of them have not begun filming. 3 of them out of the 4. Captain America 4 is doing reshoots currently.
Right.
Most of it's done. Thunderbolts hasn't started. Blade hasn't started. Blade's still paused.
No, Thunderbolts started. I want to say
if
Thunderbolts
they-
almost
If
wrapped.
they started, they just started.
No, I want to say because they were in during COVID,
I
or during
yeah.
the strike. I thought.
I don't think so. I think production stopped on Thunderbolts. I just read an interview with Florence Pugh saying that she was finishing up promotion for Dune 2 and then flying to Atlanta to start filming Thunderbolts. I mean, maybe that's just her schedule. But if they started filming, they only just started, I think.
Yeah, that's.
Or I don't know, maybe it was a pause. Maybe maybe they started right
Maybe it's
before
just
the strike,
resuming. Yeah.
but they haven't resumed yet, and they're resuming now. So anyway,
Okay. Either way,
I
one way or another, it's
think-
not as far along as you would expect it to be for something.
it's not as
coming
far
out
as
in
long as
February.
exactly, yeah. And you know what? Also, Superman Legacy hasn't started filming yet.
Mm.
Superman Legacy starts filming in March, so it's clearly, I mean, it's certainly possible
Yeah.
for all these movies to start filming and be made and hit these release dates. Certainly possible.
And Brian in the chat
especially-
brought up something good too. They're either going to have to reconfigure the script or recast Sentry because Stephen Yeun ended up pulling out.
Yes, he did pull out a Sentry. I think we talked about that a few weeks ago. They might have already replaced him with somebody.
Oh yeah.
Or there was like rumor that they were replacing him with somebody, but I don't know if it was official. So I don't know. I don't know that this date's going to stick for Fantastic Four.
I feel like
And
the date is more likely to stick for Fantastic Four than the others. I feel like if there's a conflict, they're going to say, screw the others. We're getting the 4 out because they need something to hit.
Well, yeah, no, I think Fantastic Four will come out in 2025.
Yeah.
I think, well, I don't know if I think they will, but I think they should. Based on this past summer's box office reports and
What
how there was
box office?
just too much happening week after week after week after week. I don't think it's good for anybody's business. I don't think it's good for Warner Brothers. I don't think it's good for Disney to have Superman Legacy come out 2 weeks before Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I think one of them should clear, and Superman was there first. So I don't know. My guess is that it's going to be Marvel that moves because Marvel moves stuff all the time. But I think it's in everybody's best interest to have this come out in August or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, as weird as
Clear
it
your-
sounds, in like the pre-COVID box office, films competing against each other from other studios was not out of the ordinary.
Sure.
But it seems like there's almost a shift. Like there's so much else going on, so much streaming, so much the entertainment world has shifted enough that it's like, why don't we just set up a world where, Warner Brothers has that early summer slot and just throws out their blockbuster, and like Disney Star Wars puts out that, November, December hit, and just there's not going to be enough box office revenue from what we've seen to go around. Like stop cannibalizing off yourselves and just spread it out.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there, but I think it would be wise for one of those movies to move.
Yeah.
Give the other one room, breathe.
Hell,
Because,
Blade's
Superman,
gonna
I think, is-
slip. Just drop the 4 to November and call it a day.
Yeah. Or push it till August. Like August is fine. Like people will go see both movies if one comes out different months, I feel like. But 2 weeks, we saw a lot of movies suffer because
Except for Barbenheimer.
because people
But
were
that's not
saving
two of the same movie.
It's not 2 of the same movie, but people went to see at least one of those movies that weekend, sometimes both of them, and they were like, well, I just went to see 2 movies last week and I'm not going to go see Mission Impossible or whatever.
Right.
So anyway, back to Fantastic Four. Again, according to Jeff Snyder, Dr. Doom will be featured in the movie, but will not be the main villain. This has been reported
That
for a long
tracks.
time now that Galactus is going to be the main villain of Fantastic Four. I'm pretty sure Snyder talked about this months ago, that it was that they were looking at Galactus, and that Marvel's top choice was then and is still Javier Bardem. And they want him so badly to play Galactus that they are like trying to work around his schedule. Snyder also said this week that it's possible that the Silver Surfer will appear in the film as well. Who knows how big of a role he will have. But if you're doing Galactus, you should throw in the Silver Surfer. I don't think it should necessarily be about the Silver Surfer, but he should be in it for sure.
Or is it a different surfer? Is it not Norrin Red?
Yeah, good point. Good point. A different herald.
Well, no, because there was different heralds, and then there was also different surfers.
Oh, I guess I didn't know that.
Yeah, you don't need to, but
okay,
it's a feasibility thing. Like, it could happen.
Yeah.
But again, like, it's comics. I guess anything could happen.
Sure.
But yeah, that I mean, if Galactus is in it, I wouldn't, especially from them and from name recognition. Like, you almost have to have the surfer. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then is it going to be one of those where the four fight Galactus in whatever multiverse they're in, and then see, this is my crazy thought of what is happening with Deadpool. And I brought this up with Jesse this week in the shop. I swung down and I was talking to him for a bit, and I was like, what if at the end of Deadpool and at the end of the four, like, Doom pulls them into Battleworld, or something happens there that like Doom gets introduced and then they all end up in Battleworld, instead of like everything is happening in a weird other dimension, something that isn't normal MCU continuity. And then something has to tie this all to Secret Wars. They all have to get to the same place. What are we doing?
But we have an Avengers movie before that, before Secret Wars. We have Kang Dynasty, or sorry, Avengers 5. Before
we
Secret
have
Wars.
Secret Wars Part 1 and Secret Wars Part 2. That's what it's going to end up being.
It's not official, but I think it's very possible.
Well, because the Kang Dynasty thing was probably them, either splintering or like something to cause the discourse before Secret Wars ties it all up.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, where are you going with that now that you're not kanging? That's now a verb for the record.
Sure.
So
I mean, if Avengers 5 does turn out to be Secret Wars Part 1, then yes, I can see something like that happening to set up that movie.
Right.
If it's not, if it's a different Avengers movie, I can see that happening at the end of that movie to set up the Secret Wars movie. But I guess we'll see.
Side note, one of my good friends, John Casillo, sent me a meme that was absolutely amazing, in the sense that it was a picture of Miles Teller as Reed Richards with the Maker helmet on his head.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that too.
What would that that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Like, especially as Teller has evolved significantly as an actor since then.
Yeah,
and
he's
like
great. Yeah.
Like, you're not falling back on casting or whatever. It's like, no, this guy legit can act, and you're putting him in a role that he technically is, and it makes sense.
Yeah, it could certainly make sense.
That would just be hilarious.
And then you get a cameo from a Human Torch that looks mysteriously like Killmonger.
Yeah. Or ultimately a Human Torch that looks weirdly like Captain America.
Captain America, yeah.
We got a lot of weird Human Torches floating around.
Yeah, for sure. Last bit about Fantastic Four. In the aforementioned artist depiction of the cast, the Thing is seen sitting and reading a copy of Life magazine. Some detail-oriented fans noticed that the issue of the magazine is one that was released in 1963, and it has a photo of then new President Lyndon B. Johnson on the cover, possibly indicating that the film will take place in the 1960s. Now, this is a fan theory that I heard years ago, and I immediately jumped on board with it as something that they should do. Like, how do you explain the absence of the Fantastic Four in the MCU?
Right.
you set their first movie in the 60s, and at the end of it, they get pulled into somewhere else, the negative zone or the quantum realm or, battle world, like you said, or wherever. And then in some other movie, somebody pulls them out. Or at the end of that movie, it's like Captain America, where he goes into the ice at the end, and then at the end of the movie, he wakes up. Maybe that's it. Maybe Scott Lang pulls them out of there, and by the end of their movie, and they're back in regular time. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think that's a really great idea, because there has not been an MCU movie that's set in the 60s. I think it would be great. It gives it a different look, gives it a different feel, hopefully, a different aesthetic. You can do different things with the costumes. You can have it look and feel more comic accurate. When I say comic accurate, I mean early Stan Lee. Fantastic Four, like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Fantastic Four, that kind of comic accurate. So
Jack Kirby, Vanessa Kirby, we're tying all the, we're full Pepe Sylvia here.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Tying it all together.
Perfect. I really like this idea. If this is what ends up happening, I really like it, and I'm glad they're doing it that way. And then you don't have to worry about Avengers stuff and continuity, at least for one movie. Like, give us one movie that's just a movie. That's just separate from everything else.
And they've proven that they can do a period piece with the first Avenger.
Sure. Yeah.
So why not?
Why not?
Even like for what it was and as quirky as it was, the different WandaVision episodes, like, were all uniquely set and felt like they were where they were.
For sure.
So
for sure.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of promise.
I think so too.
Now, whether that gets fulfilled after seeing what's come out of all these studios lately, who knows?
Who knows? It's really interesting to me that Marvel's still putting out 4 movies next year as of right now. This year being only one, Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine being the only one this year, is more due to the strike than anything else. But also, we've had comments from Bob Iger for like the last year saying, we're going to slow down Marvel's output. We're not going to do as much. And they're like, well, then you got 4 movies coming out next year. What are you talking about? That's not, I guess maybe they're talking about the TV side of things, but I guess that remains to be seen as well.
Oh, that was the other thing I was wondering about that picture. For some reason, you saying the life thing made me think of it. Then I forgot it. Now I'm remembering it again.
Okay.
In the picture, Grimm is already the Thing. So
yes,
in my brain,
there's a picture behind him of Eben Moss-Backrack.
Yep, in the space
in
suit.
An astronaut costume or whatever. So you still get his face in that rendering somewhere. Yeah.
So I guess in my brain, it's like, is this confirmation we're not doing? I know it's not confirmation, but like, are they not doing the
origin
story, which would be perfect for me? Like, I was happier than hell when they didn't do it for Spidey. So I don't know. One can hope.
I was happy that they did it for Spider-Man originally, and now I wish we had seen an origin, a flashback in one of the 2 sequels of some kind. But that's just one of my many problems that I have with the couple of Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Anyway. Yes, I think
correct
I
me
would
if I'm
like
wrong
that.
on that. You enjoy Tom Holland as Spider-Man. You have some problems
Correct.
with the movies.
Correct.
Okay, that's what
Spot on.
I was like.
Spot
I'm
on.
pretty sure this is where Mike is, but I want to make sure for future conversations.
Yes, to just wrap this up. So if we can close this tab, I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man: Homecoming. I think it's one of my favorite MCU movies. Period.
Yep.
So one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. Period. The other 2 I don't care for many reasons that I won't go into now.
Yeah.
And the end. Tab closed.
Okay. So we've officially closed 2 spider tabs to ultimately open a spider tab.
We're going to reopen another one. I just want to say I agree with you that I would love if they can find some way to either skip the origin and still have some kind of understanding of their power, how, that they weren't born that way or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Even if it was just like a quick flash to them in the spaceship when everything goes down, but like
Yeah.
not the full setup of like, okay, Reed meets Ben, they go to college, they meet Doom,
Yeah.
Ben meets,
Yeah.
you know,
Because that was my biggest problem with the original Fantastic Four movie with Jessica Alba and
Yep.
Chris Evans and Michael Chiklis. That was like my biggest problem with that movie is that 3/4 of that movie was origin story,
Mhm.
and they weren't the Fantastic Four until like the very end,
Right.
very end. And I was like, yo, just get through all of this exposition faster. Just like, come on. But I think they can do it. Like, you know how like in the one of the greatest superhero movies ever made, Spider-Man 2, the opening credits are just like a recap of the first movie.
Yeah.
Like do something like that with like, you know, it's not, you're not recapping anything because we haven't seen it yet, but it's like show their origin in newspaper clippings or whatever.
Right.
You know, while the credits are rolling. And then, so, okay, yeah, cosmic radiation, space, whatever, we get it.
I still like the Into the Spider-Verse making fun of, all right, so here we are.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
go into
something
the
like that.
3-second
Something like that.
intro.
Any kind
good
of
to go.
any kind of creative way to like just give people that don't know anything a quick,
Right.
here's what happened. This guy's stretchy. She turns invisible. He lights on fire, and he's a rock. There you go. That's all we need.
And he's a rock.
Well, he is.
Yeah, fair. He's an orange rock.
Anyway, he's an orange rock. Got some news from Sony regarding their Spider franchise, or lack of a Spider franchise, as I should say.
Oh, there's a franchise.
Steve, we've talked about this all the time. And Madam Web was a movie we knew nothing about. You can go back and listen to me say it. I was like, it's a very strange choice to choose, very strange character to choose to base a movie around. Like, absolute bottom tier spider character. Not even a villain, like a ally kind of, but also like not a popular character, not a well-known character, not even a really action hero character at all. But I said to you many times, we don't know anything about this movie. They waited so long to tell us anything about it, even a release date. We didn't know for so long. And even the trailer, I was like, it's kind of a wonky trailer, but at least it looks interesting. It looks more interesting than Morbius looked to me, or, you know, the Craven trailer. That's a better example. It looked more interesting than Craven. Craven looked bad and boring. Madam Web looked meh and at least interesting because it looks different, right? So
You just hurt me.
I reminded you that Craven existed?
Yes.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
was
get
my
ready.
visceral reaction to you literally reminding me Craven existed as a movie.
Head in hands, Steve went.
Okay. Back to
But
it.
I was willing to like give it some kind of benefit of doubt because we knew so little and it was such an obscure character. I was like, oh, maybe it's like a Guardians of the Galaxy thing where they're purposely choosing obscure characters so they can do something wild and cool with them. Then the reviews started coming out. It's terrible. It's awful. It's the worst movie ever made. You know, Rotten Tomatoes scores. It's worse than Morbius. Like all these crazy things from people that I trust and believe, not just like every whoever on YouTube or Blue Sky or social media or whatever. People like, you know, people that talk about movies the way you and I talk about movies, and people that I agree with saying it's really, really horrible. And that just brings me back to the fundamental problem with all these movies is that goddamn Spider-Man is not in them. And it makes no sense to be making these movies without Spider-Man. Not a cameo, barely. If there's a reference, it's the most ham-fisted, bullshit, dumb reference ever. Like, why? Why are you not? And not even a Spider-Man. Like, fine. If it's in your contract with Disney that you can't use Spider-Man, you have, like, Tom Holland has to be in the Disney-produced ones and he can't be in anything else. Fine. Give me Silk. Give me Spider-Woman. Why make a Madam Web movie? If you have Sydney Sweeney, who's like the hot it girl right now, you have her interested in being in a spider-related movie, just take her and make a Spider-Woman movie.
Yeah.
Make a Jessica Carpenter movie with her in it, dressed like a Spider-Woman. Apparently, the Spider-Women in this movie, is minor spoiler, I don't think they're apparently not in it very much, from what I've read. The trailer makes it look like they're in it a lot. They're not really in it very much, I mean. But if you said like, hey, we made a Spider-Woman movie starring everyone's favorite young hot actress right now.
Right.
Like, great. That sounds great. I'm in. Go, make it. it could be a boring action movie. It could be a by the numbers spider movie. But just the fact that it is a Spider Woman movie puts butts in seats more than a movie called Madam Web. Terrible title for a movie.
Yeah.
Terrible title for a movie. Put the word spider in that. Way better. Way better. It just makes no sense. The decision-making process at Sony makes no sense. The one thing that I thought was a good idea that they announced that was spider-related in the last year, we talked about it when they announced it, they announced that Amazon, or Prime, I should say, was in development of a number of spider-related series. And these are going to focus on spider heroes. What a crazy concept.
Novel concept here.
What a novel concept. I don't know why they're not making movies of these characters. I don't know why. Their contract with Disney has to be insane.
Wait.
But then why can you use Spider Women in Madam Web and not make a whole it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. Anyway. It's my long rant about Madam Web and Sony's mistreatment of their characters to say that this was reported by an outlet called sorry, what were we gonna say?
Nothing. I did the thing
Okay.
where I pulled up the cast and I completely forgot that Ben Parker and like Adam Scott is playing Ben Parker and Emma Roberts is playing his sister-in-law, Mary Parker.
Really? I didn't know that.
Apparently. That's what Wikipedia is telling me.
Wow.
So they paid Emma Roberts to do that?
I guess.
And like Mike Epps is
Mike
in it?
Epps is in
Like,
it. I know
what?
that too, yeah.
Huh? How? Like you have
Couldn't tell ya.
Isabella Merced, you have Sydney Sweeney, you have Dakota Johnson, you have Mike
Yes.
Epps, you have Emma Roberts, you have Adam
You have
Scott.
a great cast.
Like-
You have a great cast.
Yeah. I
A
don't
great cast. You're just wasting time. Like we're about to say that this Silk series is undergoing a creative overhaul, a full creative overhaul. They announced. There's reported by an outlet called The Ankler this week that the Silk series has paused their writer room, full creative overhaul on the series. How did a script that is reportedly so bad as Madam Web get approved by so many people and no one went, this script's terrible. We need to reconfigure this whole thing and center it around this actress, Sydney Sweeney, who we have already signed up to do this thing. It needs to be her movie. Everyone else can still be in it, but give it to her or give it to Dakota Johnson. Who cares? Anybody's a better lead. Anybody's a better Spider-Woman than anybody is a Madam Web. Does that sentence make sense to you?
It does to me.
I'm just saying they'd be better. Sony would have been better off making a Spider-Woman movie. Hands down. And it's insane that they haven't.
Yeah.
Insane. Insane that they haven't made a Silk movie. They're making a series. Great. But anyway. Originally, this report said that the entire writer's room from the Silk series, it's called Silk: Spider Society, I believe, which is a weird name for it. I think they just wanted to get the word spider in there to make it a little more Spider-Man related. The original report said that the entire writer's room had been fired. Then later it was updated to say the writer's room had just been paused while the creative overhaul was being done. And it's allowing writers to pursue other jobs in the meantime, because you can't like force someone to not take another job if you're pausing their work. So that made it seem like people were fired or left the project because they were taking other jobs, but they're not. Showrunner Angela Kang will continue to lead the show. Phil Lord and Chris Miller are still set to produce the show. Those two have been known to put out a good movie or two. So
Indeed.
hopefully their involvement will make it good, I guess. For those of you who don't know, Silk is a character, a spider-powered character who is bitten by the same spider that bites Peter Parker. After it bites him, it bites her. So she gets the same power set. Asian American woman, Cindy Moon. Cindy Moon.
Yep,
that's her name. Yeah. No official comment from Amazon on this pause, but the same report from the Ankler also said that a source close to the series said that the series was being, quote, refocused with a more male-skewed audience in mind, citing that Amazon Prime has had success with other, quote, male-skewed audiences, like shows like Jack Reacher and The Boys have been successful at Amazon. I just really
This is why we can't
don't
have
know
nice
what
things.
that means. Like, are you just gonna make it like all like TNA? Like, what are you gonna make? more.
God,
Just
I hope not.
just make it good. Like, don't make
good.
it like.
Yeah.
Honestly, what it tells me is that they're gonna make it like dark and gritty for the sake of making it dark and gritty, like shows like Jack Reacher and The Boys. But like, you don't have to. You can have a variety of different tones.
Yeah.
Amazon
But half the
Prime.
people
It
that
doesn't
like
have
The
to all be
Boys
the
don't
same
even
thing.
understand The Boys.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yeah, just make a good show and everyone will watch it. How about you do that?
Yeah.
And everyone will watch it.
That'd make way too much sense.
And who knows how much this person even knows or what they even meant by saying that, but it just seems like completely without any context. It seems like we're scared of making a female-led superhero series, and we don't think anyone will watch it unless it somehow appeals to men. I don't know.
But like you said, Sony for all this time has had, they've gone with all the villain movies and all this like Venom. I get Venom is Venom.
Me too.
That's fine.
Although I don't get why there was no Spider-Man connection to that movie. Still stupid. Venom is a character that would not exist without Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Really stupid to not put any kind of reference to any kind of Spider-Man in that movie. Should have thought about it. Anyway,
the last time a Spider-Man movie referenced Venom, we got what we got. So.
Yeah, I know, man, but.
But that notwithstanding, like,
yeah,
you have the rights to, the aforementioned Silk, all of the Spider-Women, be it, Jessica Carpenter or Jessica Drew or like whoever
all the side characters
it is that you want to use.
Black Cat.
There's a plethora of them.
Silver Sable.
Black Cat. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh, no, because they wouldn't have had X-Men. I was going to say this Uncanny Nightcrawler or Uncanny Spider-Man with Sable and Nightcrawler was just perfect.
Oh yeah, you mentioned how great it was.
You have, hell, do you have Miguel O'Hara?
Right?
Do you have any of the adjacent Spider-Mens? Like, do anything but what you've been doing.
Yeah, I think everyone's been saying it's insane they haven't made a live-action Miles Morales movie, and I do think it's crazy. I think now they're not going to make one until they're done with the Spider-Verse movies, because they don't want to have too much of. They want to confuse audiences, I guess, by having like an animated one and a live-action one. But like, I don't know, like you just mentioned so many other like spider-related characters, and they could have used any one of those in any one of these movies, any one of them.
Right, like on your side, you have the Bat family, where it's like, all right, it just spreads and spreads. Spidey, they're like, how many different iterations of Spider people are there? And I'm sorry, Brian, if I keep throwing names out there for them to ruin, but like, there's plenty of options, and they seem to use none of them. Yeah,
I know. They don't even all have to be the same Spider person. Like, you could use Julia Carpenter in the Venom movie, and Jessica Drew in the Morbius movie, or you could use Silk in the Craven. Like, you could just do that. Just do it. And then you make your Spider-Woman Avengers movie. You know what I mean? And then all three of those team up, and then you get your Madam Web or whatever.
There's like 6 different Spider-Girls. Like, what are you doing? I'm sure you can't use Mayday, but use any of the rest of them.
Yeah. Insane. Yeah. And it's insane that they've made 4 movies that, have been like diminishing returns for sure. Like, Venom made a ton of money, but like critically not received very well. And they've just been going downhill ever since. And Craven looks awful too. Like, they haven't learned any, they could have canceled any of these projects after Morbius.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, no, they just keep making bad decisions. I don't understand it. I don't understand how they're still doing this.
In the immortal words of Dr. Ian Malcolm, they only look to see if they could, not whether or not they should.
They should. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Also, in the spider research, I did remember the most comic thing you can ever comic. I don't. Are you familiar with Gwen Warren at all?
I don't believe so.
Okay, one of the Spider Girls.
Okay.
Background, and tell me if this is not the most Marvel Comics thing of all time.
Okay.
This is the byline: the mutant daughter of Scott Summers, Gwen Stacy, and Anna Soria, grown by the Jackal using technology stolen from Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, wow. It is the marveliest Marvel
Yeah.
origin I've ever heard.
Also, Scott Summers, like the Summers family, doesn't need more.
No, no,
There's
no.
enough stupidity going on in the Summers family.
Yes, yes. One last thing that remains to be seen, whether or not it's a good idea that is spider related. Apparently, the same report also said that there is a Spider-Man noir series in development, which I think we already talked about a long time ago, but we didn't know anything about it. Apparently now, Nicolas Cage is in serious talks to join as the series lead. Nicolas Cage, who voices Spider-Man noir in the Spider-Verse films.
I still can't. I can't.
So I feel like not everything has to be so connected. You know what I mean?
I think they need to just, if they're doing this, they need to just lean into the camp.
Yeah.
And make it above and beyond. And, you
I
know,
agree.
Nick Cage can do that, but also Sony won't. So
Right.
they'll try and make it serious. And it's like, no, don't do that. Stop.
They'll want to make it serious and dark, and we'll get Ghost Rider, but with webs and less flaming skulls. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they'll change the design of this character, Spider-Man Noir, to have a Ghost Rider head. I feel like Steve would like that.
I feel like Steve's about to implode.
Well, then let's talk about something positive, my friend. Let's move on to our last Marvel-specific story.
Speaking of Scott
the
Summers.
show. Speaking of Scott Summers, we got a trailer for X-Men 97 this week. That's right. One of Steve's most anticipated things of his entire life. I also got a release date coming out March 20th, 2024. That's way sooner than I thought. I thought it was going to be a summertime thing. We're getting this March 20th, 2024. It's going to be a 10-episode series. Steve, take it away, my friend. What did you think of this trailer?
As weird as it sounds, I only watched it once.
Yeah.
And I think I only watched it once solely because I didn't like, I wanted that initial feeling to just last. It's strictly a function of my childhood and growing up when I did, and choosing the X-Men versus Batman conundrum that we've always brought up on the show. But like it hit the right feels. Anything from like the opening TV skittery old CRT like horrible definition version
showing
of
you the end of the series.
For graduation day
series.
and then like going from that into the new animation that's very reminiscent of the old but nice and sharp and clean and
definitely different.
Different
animation, but like you said, reminiscent
a
of
nice homage back to the original, but like not quite Invincible, but in that vein. Somewhere in, if you merged X-Men the animated series and Invincible, you get what the modern one is.
I agree.
And like, I don't know, there was something about like when Scott said to me my X-Men, I was just like the hair on the back of my head stood up and I'm like, oh, it's happening.
Steve, I gotta say, I felt the same way. I didn't, maybe not as intensely, but I was someone that I watched the X-Men cartoon when I was a kid. I think I fell off towards the end of it because it just got insane, like most X-Men stuff tends to do. So I don't think I watched
three-quarters of every X-Men thing are amazing.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. But damn, man, I felt the same way. I was just like, oh, this means more to me than I expected it would. Seeing this trailer, I was like, oh yeah, no, this makes me excited. And it felt like the X-Men. I feel like that's like, that cartoon is such a cornerstone of what I think the X-Men are.
Yes.
Like how I feel like they should be. And seeing
most of every run of X-Men I read goes back to the animated series. And I'm like, well, it's not quite the same, but it works, so I'm fine with it.
Right. Yeah. And just like looking at the bright colors and the bright suits and the designs and like the super dramatic dialogue and, and comparing that to like, you can say that that's campy or that's cheesy or it's over the top.
And it is. 100%.
And it is. It's all of that stuff. But like comparing it to, black leather suits that we saw in so many X-Men movies and serious, gritty tones and as much, something like Logan, which is dark and serious and sad and tragic and incredible, and I love that movie. But like seeing this trailer, I was like, oh, that's the X-Men. That's what the X-Men are and feel like and look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it really kind of like, I don't know, it lit me up. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this. Like, for honestly, I wasn't sure that I was even gonna watch this show,
right?
Because I was like, I loved it when I was a kid. It doesn't seem like, and now looking back, I know it was super campy and way over the top dramatic wise, and I don't think I'm gonna want to watch the new one if it's gonna be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm seeing this trailer, I'm like, oh, it's exactly like that, and that's exactly what I want it to be, and I'm going to watch it. Like, I didn't know
this is what I wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The one thing that did throw me off, Cal Dodd is the guy who voiced Wolverine in the original.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also the guy who voices him in this. But the voice really is different.
It sounded different.
Yeah.
I thought that too. There's like only one line he's.
There was something. It wasn't like, I don't know if it wasn't gruff enough or like there was something missing,
or
but
a different kind of gruff.
Yeah. Like he
I
aged
could tell it was
20
different.
years almost. Yeah,
exactly.
Go figure.
I thought I heard it and I was like, I think it is the same guy.
Oh, you know what it is? You know what it is for me?
It's voice,
it's James Earl Jones in Rebels.
Sure. Yeah.
Voicing Vader in Rebels.
Yeah, or Rogue One or something.
Yeah. Yep. Where it's like, this is the same thing, but it's not.
But it's not. But I think he's not the only original cast member that's coming back.
Oh no, most of the original cast is back.
Yeah, I think if they are still alive and still working, then they're back. Yeah.
I think Magneto is not.
Definitely Magneto was not the same voice. Our Magneto had like a very deep voice in the original cartoon, I think. Like an overly dramatic depth to his voice. And this guy didn't have it, but I liked it. I thought he sounded good.
No, and this Magneto looks very Castlevania.
Yep.
But yeah, Matthew Watterson is the guy who's voicing him in the new one. Who meet the old boss, same as the new boss. Now that Charles is not with us, spoiler alert for the end of X-Men 90s or X-Men the animated series.
That came out 20 years ago.
But the end of the trailer.
So we're saying 20 years ago. It was more than 20 years ago, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was 30 years
over
ago.
30 years ago.
Yeah, 31 years ago now.
Yeah.
Because it came out in 93, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was called X-Men 97.
What's that?
It's called X-Men 97.
Well, the original series ran from 93 to 97, I think, which is why it's X-Men 97 because they're picking up at the end.
Wow, it's that old? I thought it started in 97.
No, man. No, we were like late elementary school when
really? Yes, man.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Wow. So well over 30 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So he Magneto shows up at the end bearing the last will and testament of Charles Xavier.
Right.
So we'll, as always, we'll see where everything goes.
We'll see what happens.
There's plenty of storylines because they always, the entirety of the animated series tapped into and in and around and adjacent to actual X-Men storylines from the comics for the most part. So we'll see what they grab and what they don't and where we go and which of the New Mutants show up and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, new characters will be interesting.
Yeah. Morph being back is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
Yep.
That scene at the end where they meet Magneto was great because like the entire team of X-Men burst through the door at once somehow. Yep. And they were all wearing like beach clothes and bathing suits and stuff. And I was like, this is the most 90s X-Men thing I've
100%.
ever seen. It's like one frame.
Yep.
The most X-Men-y thing. Specifically 90s X-Men.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. Steve, third week in a row, I don't have a comic to review. Do you have a comic to review?
Kill me, man. I do.
Yeah, well, I don't because when I went to Funky Town Comics, there was some kind of shipping delay.
Yes.
Through no fault of their own. So I was there at a time when they had not received their comics yet, and the comic that Jesse wanted to give me had not arrived. So I do have a story about comics. Should we do the story first before we do reviews?
Yeah.
Your review?
Go for it.
It's a story that we read immediately after ending the podcast last week. So a bit of an older story. But the famed and long lost to history DC and Marvel crossovers
Oh yeah.
are going to be reprinted and republished. 2 volumes going to be republished this August. One being DC versus Marvel. Marvel?
It's Marble
It's
Madness,
just
the
like,
game
yeah,
from
it's
the
the
80s.
Justice League
that,
playing marbles. Yeah, yeah.
No, they're playing
DC
Labyrinth. That's what it is.
Yeah,
The old
yeah,
wooden
that's
game that tilted.
Yeah. DC versus Marvel Omnibus is one, and the second one is DC Marvel The Amalgam Age Omnibus. DC versus Marvel includes a bunch of reprints of a bunch of different comics published randomly, like from 1976 through the early 2000s, starting with Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man, which apparently was the first one, and then the last one of these like just casual crossovers was a Batman and Daredevil issue. Really mostly just single issues, I believe. Whereas the Amalgam Omnibus includes everything tied to the Amalgam universe, which was like the universes combining and ended up combining like 2 heroes into one. So we had Dark Claw, say a combination of Batman and Wolverine, Super Soldier, Captain America and Superman, and like Iron Lantern was like Iron Man and Green Lantern. So it's the Amalgam Omnibus going to collect all of those stories for all those characters. So they're gonna be, I think they're gonna be pretty sizable books, from what I can tell. Creators on these books include Peter David, Dan Jurgens, Mark Waid, Dave Gibbons, Ron Mars, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Frank Gehry, Bill Sienkiewicz, and Claudio Castellini. And I think that's awesome. I think it's been like people have wanted this for a long time. They've been out of print for so long. It is cool to be that we'll have access to them. And I'm sure they're going to be huge, and I'm sure they're going to be costly. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
very
I can
cool.
only imagine.
Very cool.
So they're doing that, but they're not doing. What was the George Lopez or George Perez? George Lopez is very different than George Perez.
Very. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. What was the George Lopez?
There's a crossover that he did, right?
No, I'm saying George Lopez. The George Perez. Well, no, I think is it part of this one? I guess wouldn't he be listed?
You
on
would
the
think so.
creators list?
Yeah,
I
you
know,
would think
we're
they'd
good,
put him
guys. We're
front and
good at this
center on
job.
the creators list.
Yeah, for real. I can't find it.
Yeah.
But no, TBD. We'll figure that out. What comic do you have to review this week, Steven?
I have a
Called
Ram V
Steven. I've never
joint.
called you a Ram V joint.
I do.
do
The
you got?
the one hand from Image.
Oh, cool.
Kind of
heard of
a crime noir type look at it. Very dark and gritty. Very
Oh yeah, very
it's
noir.
Lawrence Campbell art. Very in the shadows detective story. Basically, detective is retiring after years on the job. You know, the normal deal. One more case pulls him back in. A case he's apparently solved twice, but apparently not solved. For murders that occurred in this fictional city. So this is like the opening spread.
Wow, that's cool.
Great
Love the
art.
shadows.
Great, use of, like you said, use of shadows, use of, dark space. Ultimately, really cool story. I normally am not big on the, crime books and whatnot.
Yeah.
But this one kind of left me. I mean, it's Ram V. Like we know he can cook. So it left it at a spot where I wanted to pick up the next one to figure out where it went. Like,
great.
It was a nice enough setup that I was like, okay, this is pushing it in a direction that I wasn't expecting. The main character, shows his faults, has the old gritty cop thing going, but also, just seemed like there might be something more to it. So the other thing is, I don't know if it's a telling it from multiple sides, but the follow-up is not the one hand two. It is this is the Six Fingers one or something.
Oh,
So
weird.
I think it might be something like a House of X, Powers of X, House of X, Powers
Oh,
of Ten
sure.
thing,
That's cool.
where they're telling two parallel stories, maybe from two different points of view.
Yeah.
So that's another part of what kind of hooked me and was like, I might pick up number 2 for this, just to see where it goes.
That's awesome. Cool,
So,
man. Yeah, Ram V, he's got it going.
Yeah, you know what? He's in that, he might be above, as weird as it sounds, he might be above Tinian in that list of like have
Wow.
to pick him
He's
up.
right up there.
Just
I think he's right up there.
solely on the fact that Tinian puts so much stuff out.
Agreed.
Like,
Yeah.
I love when Tinian is hitting his high notes, but there's just so much content.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
So much.
I can only pull World Tree and Deviant and this and that and this and that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
He just started a production company.
Did
I
he?
think. James Tinian. Yeah. You know,
how does he have time to do all of this?
That's exactly what I thought. It's exactly what
Is
I
there
thought.
like
No
4?
idea.
There's, you know what it is? He's actually 4 small children in a trench coat, and they're all writing the
must be it.
books.
And they're all good at writing.
Right.
Yeah.
They just all go under the pen name James Tinian the 4th.
Yep. Yeah. Wild. Steve, how you doing on that 1,000 comics in 2024 goal, my friend? What number are you at?
We are at, because I didn't put the rest in, because the poll didn't come in, I didn't really make up a ton of ground. But
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 106 plus 9. I'm at 115. 117.
Right.
Last week I was at 104. So that was actually earlier this week because we recorded late.
Yeah, making up some ground then.
Got through the volume 2 of my Uncanny X-Men omnibus, or collected versions. So 9 more issues of that. Couple Superior Spider-Men to keep me moving, and then completely randomly, the only one that wasn't in one of those 2 collecteds was a random issue that I found in my shelf of Uncanny X-Men 409.
Wow. All right.
It was the last issue of the Joe Casey run, which was okay. I didn't realize that I had just last week read 2 Joe Casey books in Neil Before Zod 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
So
right.
I had completely forgot when I read those that he had written X-Men, because this was kind of in the time frame that I was falling off of the wagon there. And it's like, oh, okay, pieces are all falling together. I forget how, not incestuous, but like overlapping comics can be.
For sure.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man.
Oh,
Moving
yeah.
right along.
Getting
I know
there.
you're gonna get it. Maybe you'll read some of these books that are coming out this week at your local comic book store. You got Alien, Black, White,
Depends
and
if
Blood
they get there.
number 1. That's true. Yeah. Hopefully, no more delays. Alien, Black, White, and Blood number 1. Batman number 144. Batman, Superman, World's Finest number 24. Blasphemous is how it's spelled. Number 1. Captain Marvel number 5. Catwoman number 62. Cobra Commander number 1. That might be a second printing. That already came out. Anyway. Daredevil number 6. Edge of the Spider-Verse number 1. Elvira meets H.P. Lovecraft number 1. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero number 304. Green Lantern number 87. Green Lantern War Journal number 6. Guardians of the Galaxy Annual number 1. Haunted Girl number 4. Incredible Hulk number 9. John Constantine Dead in America number 2. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong number 5 of 6, possibly the penultimate issue, I believe. Lotus Land number 4. Nightwing number 111. Predator The Last Hunt number 1. Rise of the Powers of X number 2. Sentry number 3. Spawn number 350. Spider-Woman number 4. Star Trek number 17. Star Wars number 43. Superman number 11. Titans number 8. Wonder Woman number 6. And X-Force number 49. Yeah. Lots of good stuff. Plus more. Plus many more things in your local comic book store this week. Steve, you reading any of these? Picking any of these up?
For the record, I believe that's Cobra Commander number 2.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was 2 also.
Yeah, because I have read number 1, and unless that's a second printing already.
That's what I said. Maybe it was a second printing and I didn't catch it. But
that one, definitely.
Yeah.
Edge of Spider-Verse, I'm curious about. Those are always interesting because there's always something
always
there.
some weird stuff happening there, yeah. For sure.
And then Hulk has still been great.
Yeah.
Like every time I'm like, yeah, okay. Every time I see it when I pull, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy that's there.
Good.
So it's not one of those where I'm like pulling and I'm like, why am I still pulling this?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Rise of Powers has been solid, so I'll be grabbing that. And I think I'll probably end up pulling X-Force because I'm a sadist.
Hey, and you gotta hit that 1,000. Gotta hit that thou.
Yeah.
I might.
Jesse, Jeff, and Chris are directly benefiting from me doing this.
Oh yeah, they heard you make that announcement and they just started just laughing.
Yep.
Just wringing their hands together and their eyes turning into dollar signs. I might grab Alien Black, White, and Blood. I think that's a cool character concept for an anthology like that, especially depending on, I don't know who the creative team is, but if I enjoy the creative team, then it'll definitely be worth picking up.
Do we know who's putting that? Who's got the rights to that? Is that going to be?
That's Marvel.
Is it now? Okay.
Yeah, Alien, new Alien and Predator has been under Marvel.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was
merge.
You know how that goes.
Yeah.
It's like, did somebody retain those rights? What happened?
Yeah. So I reviewed issue 1 of John Constantine Dead in America, so I might get up issue 2 because I thought issue 1 was good. I also hear that Haunted Girl is really good. I don't know anything about it. It's on its 4th issue, but I've heard a couple different people that I trust talk about how great it is. So maybe I'll pick that up if there's a trade someday. Got a couple one-shots. Steve, you want to grab this first one and I'll take the second one?
Sure, why not?
Pretty short short things, but
we do officially have a release date for the final season of Umbrella Academy. I would be remiss if I knew that was still ongoing. But the final season will debut on August 8th, 2024. So that is coming on Netflix.
Nice. I'll be excited for that. I love that show.
Yeah.
I love the books. Books, I'm sure we've talked about it on the show. Books wildly different than the show, but in a way that I think makes sense for an adaptation.
Right.
Like the stuff that happens in the book would be insane or impossible to do. Some of the way the characters even look would be not conducive to live action.
Right. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I've read the first trade of that. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the way they change things, I think, is appropriate for a television show. But even though they change quite a bit. But yeah, my wife and I really dig that show, and be happy to see if it ends well. Hopefully it will.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will. I would also love Gerard Way and Gabriel Ba to make more Umbrella Academy comics because I miss them. Last one shot for the night. Comic related. Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo have announced that they are ending their run on Nightwing with a final 5-issue story arc entitled Fallen Grayson. It's going to start in May of 2024, and they will be off that book. They've been on that book for a really long time.
They have.
I was pulling it for a really long time, and I just dropped it after a certain story arc ended, and I was just looking to pare down my pull. I don't know. I might pick up this last final 5 issues because it was so good. Art was great. Bruno Redondo won an Eisner for it. Tom Taylor's a great writer. And it was it was like a book that kind of rejuvenated my interest in the character and the Bat family for a while. It was so good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd never lost interest in the character or the Bat family, but just like
reinvigorated in comic form and actually,
breathing new life into how they're portrayed and how they interacts with Barbara Gordon or Tim, like all these other things. I was like, wow, this is great. This is like how it felt like, every once in a while you read a run and you're like, this is how this character should be all the time. This is like a perfect quintessential understanding of this character. And that's how I felt about at least the first few arcs of Tom Taylor and Redondo's Nightwing. So
everybody,
sad to see them go.
Like every character has that where you're like that seminal, this guy gets this character.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
a redefining or just simply a defining run on Dick Grayson.
The Fraction Hawkeye. Like,
yes, exactly. Yep.
That is how Hawkeye will always be in my book.
Yeah, that was definitely a redefine. I think for sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Nightwing was more just like drilling down and like defining this is what he looks
pulling out pieces of what was already there. Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, sorry to see them leave that title, but excited to see where they go next. Tom Taylor is a hot property over at DC, so we'll be wondering if what ongoing he picks up next. And with that, unless you want to rant about Madam Web anymore, I think we're done.
No, I think I'm done with the Madam Web rants. But if you'd
Until we
like
see
to,
it.
if
Until
you'd
we
like
see
to
it.
leave a Madam Web rant and you've seen it, feel free to do so in our comments on Apple Podcasts. We will read it and give you some props because, well, I guess we're into shitting on Sony mode, which, as Brian pointed out earlier in the chat, yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, feel free to leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts, 5-star reviews.
We'll read it.
If you do include a recipe in there, we will be eating it on the pod next week.
We will cook it and eat it while we're doing the podcast.
100%. We will be chomping on that. Feel free to get a hold of us on the socials, the Multiverse Report, wherever you can find us, and on the old-fashioned emails at themultiversereport@gmail.com. If you didn't know what I just said, check us out at themultiversereport.com, and there's a link tree to all that stuff.
Yes. Also, just to make sure we're not liars, this whole recipe thing started when we said we'll read anything you want to put in a review, we'll read it if it's a 5-star review.
Yes.
And then we got at least one additional 5-star review. One's from me, because I wasn't sure if it was working. So one is from me that says, is this working? 5 stars.
Oh, there you go.
I'm reading on the podcast. Also, it's from Sunny Side Up 00.
I don't know.
5-star review. What's that?
I don't know who that could be.
I have no idea. 5-star review. These guys are the best for keeping you up to date in everything nerdy related. I also have a recipe. And then
no recipe.
So Sunny Side Up 00. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for the 5-star review. But still waiting on that recipe, bud.
Mm-hmm.
Still wait. And with that, I think we're good to go. So yeah, follow us and do all the things that Steve said. And we're going to wrap this up. So until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the multiverse.